Hey,
We're on.
sleepy time in Nola. Got a sleepy overcast day.
And sleepy time in LA. It's not
Yeah,
overcast, but
it's
sleepy.
early there. What do you got? 8:30? 8:30 in the morning?
20, which isn't early, but I had, you know, I had 27 hours of no sleep and finally
Jet,
got,
jet
finally just,
lag, man.
yeah, jet lag madness. Finally
Mm,
just slept for 12, but I'm still tired and I have a headache from sleeping till sleeping in and
yeah,
all
yeah.
that good stuff.
No,
So,
I'm sorry. Well, I'm glad you finally got some rest, though. That's good news.
yeah,
I thought you were gonna like marathon it out and like
I thought I
go
was never going to go to
against.
sleep again.
What's that?
I thought I would never go to sleep again.
You could get so much done. This could be your most productive year ever,
Could be.
right? And then you expire at the end of the year.
With
You
all
have,
sorts of great
you you have a
things
lot done.
that I just did.
And it would be a very telling experiment for other people trying to do it. Not to do it.
Yes.
So anyway, so quick like update, guys. So lots of cool stuff going on. Laura just got back from Norway, as she said. She had a great time. Were you there a little over a week?
Oh, I just want to tell everyone. Sorry, usually I have to shift the so they just saw me for the first like 60 seconds.
Okay, I'm here too. I matter
There you
too.
go. Yeah, I got back from Norway a couple days ago and it was a blast and I put
You got to
pictures
see
on
your
my
best
Facebook
friend.
page. Yeah, I got to see my best friend and you guys got to see her dancing a little bit last time. So
Right.
that was cool.
That's awesome. That's
Mhm.
great. And anything special from Norway? Any like because it's that's where you're from. Any like special home goodness that you
Yep. Well, my friend, sorry, come back to me. Um, my best friend's mom, they have a couple cabins, so we went out to the cabin.
mm,
We got to cook and like make delicious sandwiches and lots of different pizza and Thai food. We just eat a lot when we're there.
yeah,
The cabins are super fun because, you know, it's just cozy, like coffee and cake and,
yeah,
you know,
Scandi style.
it's Scandi style. Yeah. So we just had a
That's,
blast.
that's great.
I
Yeah,
did a really big hike and some fun
yeah.
stuff.
It's good to see you guys, you and Tina connected together and having a good
Yeah,
time.
it
Awesome.
was so,
You can tell how much fun you guys have. It's great.
it's so fun.
So, well, we're glad to have you safe and sound back. We applaud that you managed to make Q&A Saturday happen, even across the world, and with some dancing scandies, your team of dancing scandies. So that's great. Both of us are getting out of town again, just as you start to get your sleep pattern together.
Uh-huh.
We head out. Like I'm in Nola right now, but I fly out to LA tomorrow and then meet you, and then we go to Portland, right?
Yep, Portland.
So then we're headed to Portland for what? When are we out there? For like 7, 8 days, something like total.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got T3 launch. So it's our latest T3 launch where we train trainers how to build their businesses and train dogs. And if you guys follow us, you probably know what that's all about. But it's a pretty special. We're at 6 days still, right? Not a 7 day.
6 days, 7 days next year.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's 6 days. It feels like 7 days, but it's only
Uh-huh.
it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of like, and I don't mean that like complaining. It's a lot of work as far as like just there's so much stuff that transpires in that 6 days, from personal development to hands-on dog training to your business and marketing. So much good stuff,
Yeah,
and it ends up being like so much more than that. It ends up being such a much more of like a connection, and the name launch is such a cool thing for it because it really does help launch people in a lot of directions that aren't just business wise.
yeah,
Launching like new connections emotionally, mentally, life wise, directions, paths they're going down, giving people encouragement to go after their dreams or deviate from a path they've been on for a long time. So it's pretty damn special. And I think all three of us, me, you, and Jeff, always, even though it's a ton of work, like putting it on and being that present and conscious all the time, the
yeah,
payout is so juicy of seeing people come out of there and do well and put put dreams together and
Yeah.
make lives that they want to have happen. So
Yeah.
it's a ton of work. It's also a ton of fun, and then it's also like just really special. So anyway, so that's T3. That's where we're headed off to. And it's like me and Laura were saying the other day, it's like really just an excuse for me and Jeff and her to like behave like 3 teenage girls at a slumber party, just carry on and be silly. So with teaching interspersed in between. And then we got Britt here. You can't see her. She's somewhere here in Nola. She flew in with her husband, her newlywed husband. They've been together for many years, but her and Cameron flew in yesterday to Nola, and she's gonna be watching the pups for me while I'm gone in Portland, and she'll be working with some clients while I'm gone too. So it's like bang, bang, boom. She flies in like special forces, takes care of the hounds, and gets some clients help. So hopefully she'll be getting some pictures up and being able to share those so I can like send them out to you guys. You can see all the good work going on with that. And then while the rest of us are working, we've got Team Money, also known as Tony Shields. And Tony is going on some Mexico excursion. I heard something about pyramids and golf and cocktails and things like that. So that's where T's headed while the rest of us are jumping into the trenches. He's jumping out of the trench and going to have some fun. I don't know how long he's going for, but he's really excited. Him and I think
going for a week.
Going for a week. Wow, awesome. So so he's gonna go have a good time, and then I guess when he gets back, he's jumping back in. Boom. Yeah. And putting some dog work together. So that's kind of the update on everything going on. I'm sorry, I'm like kind of low energy today. I'm really sick. I was up late last night and up early this morning, so I'm a little groggy. But I'm gonna put it together and make sure that this is a slam banger. I will guarantee that for the quietness of my demeanor, the quality of my answers will more than compensate for that difference. So that said, Laura Morgan, let's jump into the show.
Okay. I'm not even ready, guys, but let's see. No. Wrong music.
Uh-oh. Already technical issues this early in the game.
Yeah, I can't find that.
Here we go. Q&A.
Q&A Saturday.
Saturday. Yeah.
Okay, dance.
Dance in my seat.
Dance, Sean.
All right. And it's episode number 52,
wait.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, the big 5-2. You know what that means.
Yeah, I thought we were going to do something special for the big year in review, but we're crooked. We're crooked, Laura. It's a nice moving graphic, a dancing graphic, if you will. So episode 52, guys, that means holy mackerel. That means 52 episodes in the can. You know that means, I think Laura said that it might be more than a year or something like that. What were you saying? Like
probably because we skipped some weeks, but I guess a year, if you put them all together, a year of doing Q&As.
A year. I mean, there's 52 episodes in the can, so that's a year of episodes. So that's pretty damn awesome. I don't think we anticipated, well, or maybe we did. Maybe we were that optimistic that we'd get there. But that's like, it's pretty awesome. I was going through some of the old ones and watching like when we were in New Orleans, like in Jackson Square with the microphone, microphone, like talking and everybody watching us, and just a peculiar kind of interesting thing. And
doing the GoPro as we walked, and
doing the GoPro as we walk. And then there was the one in the motorhome in
oh yeah.
That was like we were in Dallas and we were doing a T3 and we ran out on a break and I think we shot it in like a bunch of places. We shot it in the hotel room, we shot it in the RV, we shot it in front of all over the place. So
everything. Yep.
Any other interesting spots that we've done the show? We've done it from here together. We've done it. I can't remember if there's anything else more like kind of off the cuff or juicy or weird. But so the point of the matter is that we've made sure no matter where the hell we are, we always keep it coming. We keep coming, guys. So we love you guys and we appreciate the support so much. And the good news is we'll be back to like some sort of like regular, what you're used to seeing, like the format. Well, you'll see us together in Portland. I'm sure we'll shoot.
Yeah.
And then when I get back from Nola, then we'll get back into the regular, like sitting on the couch whole kind of dealio. So anyways, blah, 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 blah. We don't have a ton of questions this week. We only got 8 questions. So maybe this is the last show. Maybe this is the end. Maybe we've run our course and everybody's like, it's been great, guys. We got other things to do.
We've said this before.
We got other things to do on Saturday. You know, maybe people have got stuff to do. Maybe they want to go for bike rides and not listen to us.
Right.
But,
that makes sense.
It makes sense. So we got 8 questions, right, between Instagram, my personal page, and the Good Dogs. So we don't have a full 10. So that means we'll have a little abbreviated show. But, you know, we're never short for blah, blah, blah. So be able to fill it out just fine.
As evidenced just so far.
Right. So Laura Morgan, you want to jump into question number 1?
Do you want to introduce us? You always get mad at me for...
See, that's how early it is, or that's how tired I am. Hey, everybody, it's Sean from the Good Dog. And...
Hold up.
I'll do it again. Hey, everybody, it's Sean from the Good Dog.
Yeah.
And on the other side of the screen, getting everything ready, is the lovely Laura Morgan, of course. And all this stuff is the Good Dogs Q&A Saturday. All stuff, right?
Episode number 52.
52. So let's rock and roll with 52. Let's crook it again.
I know, because I saved it wrong. Okay.
So,
all right.
Jump in?
Yeah. Let me get this music ready. Is this the wrong music?
Yeah.
Oh, what's wrong with me?
That's like the slow, melancholy music we use for other things.
Right. Okay. Question number 1.
Yeah.
This question comes from Casey.
Do we not have the music?
Casey says, I'll get it next time. Casey says, hi guys, I've got a different sort of question this time.
Yeah.
How do you remain so calm and unemotional when working with these difficult dogs? I'm an emotional person by nature and can sometimes feel myself getting frustrated and worked up when trying to work with a difficult dog. I'm a groomer. I don't really have much ability to correct bad behaviors, but I also don't want to allow them in my annoyance. And my annoyance at trying to find a middle ground leaks out sometimes, which can only make it worse. You guys always seem so calm and level-headed. How do you do it?
Good question, Casey. So I think in some respects you kind of answered your own question. So for one, can you guys hear that train? Can you hear that train?
Yeah, I can hear it, yeah.
The Nola train coming through. Yeah. Bringing dog knowledge. They're dropping it off. So I think you kind of explain, like, to be honest, the main reason why you're struggling is because you've got dogs coming in that have behavior problems and are misbehaving, and you probably know what you would like to do to fix it, but you can't really do any of the addressing. You can't use tools like any training tools, really. I mean, all you can do is do what you can really do, which is acceptable as like a groomer. So you're basically kind of left in the lurch of like taking like nutty dogs. And it would be like, it's almost like akin to like, you know, being in a prison and the warden and the guards aren't allowed to actually like do anything with the prisoners. The prisoners just all run around crazy and do their thing. And you're just like trying to keep yourself safe and sane. So I think that's probably the biggest reason for you, is that I think because you've studied and watched so much of this stuff, you know that you could affect change and you could make that dog not be a brat, and you could make that dog more well-behaved, and you could actually enjoy the interaction a lot more, but you're kind of not allowed to do it, or you're not able to do it in the context of your job. So I think that's the first one. For us, it's the exact opposite, right? So we've got the tools and strategies and the ability and the context where dogs are there specifically for us to do that work. Right. So it really empowers us to be in a good space of like, cool, this is the work we do. We're going to use the best tools, the best strategies, all this stuff. And what else was I going to say about that? Oh, and then the confidence and the trust in the program that we've done it so many times also helps a lot, right? So no matter what kind of nutty dog comes through, we've done it so much that we know that we're going to get to the finish line no matter what. So typically, like, stress and anxiety and the frustration stuff comes from not having tools, not having strategies, not knowing what to do, or in your case, not being able to do what you should be able to do. And then what else are you going to do but get frustrated? Another part of that is that I think, you know, me, Tony, Britt, Laura, we all know very clearly one of the easiest lessons and earliest lessons is that when you get, if the dog has got an issue or is accelerated or aroused or in a bad space and you do the same, it just makes it worse. So like you very clearly see that, and that lesson's a very early lesson. And if you want to get bitten, that's how you get bitten. If you want to have a dog like misbehave and not listen, add more fuel to the fire and get frustrated and annoyed. So I think there's a practicality sense as well that we just know that it doesn't work. And then on top of that, and I'll let Laura kind of like finish up too, but on top of that, I certainly by no stretch come from that naturally, like calm, like don't worry, we'll make it all happen. I come from the other side of the tracks, but I've worked really hard at it. I've worked my butt off really hard, done a lot of mental work and a lot of like habit practicing to make sure that when I do work with dogs, I'm always in that space. And if I slip out of it, I catch myself. So much of it is just self-awareness, being really, really, really self-aware that when you slip, you catch yourself, because it's the way it's easy to know when you slip is because the slip feels uncomfortable. The slip doesn't feel good internally. You'll feel it physically. You start to get annoyed, frustrated, pissed off, you know, freaked out with the dog. You're going to feel it here. And so that's a good check-in. As soon as you feel that, you're like, yeah, I'm not in my good space, which means I'm not going to help this dog right. It means he might bite me, means, you know, I'm not doing my best by him and by me and all that stuff. So hopefully that kind of like sums up and clarifies. What about you, Lil Morgan? You got any juicy stuff?
I think you covered it all. I think that's really it. Just having the tools makes you more confident and you can be in your best space. And then being like, you know, just being super self-aware and remembering that it's just dogs. It's just dog stuff. Like, don't get too worked up about it. You know, I think a lot of times we kind of laugh about stuff. You know, we'll be in a light mode, even when dogs are like getting serious or crazy or bratty. We'll like all look at each other and be like, whoa, you know, like we just have fun with it. Like, I mean, the amount of laughs we have, not laughs like we're all sitting around and laughing, but like the amount of like
keeping it light.
Yeah, the amount of like jokes that come out of like dogs like trying to like go after us, or like dogs like, and not like, again, we take our job very seriously, but you kind of have to laugh at it. It's like, it's just funny. Like, if we got so serious about dogs being like bratty or bad, we'd be burnt out. So you just have to like, just remember what it is. It's not that big of a deal, you know?
Yeah, and that's a good point. I mean, I think we see what people would be surprised by is like there's a lot of like song singing that goes on, you know, and like talking to dogs in like goofy voices that are like in a nasty space to make sure we keep the energy really neutral in the room and don't allow it to affect us. So if a dog is like a bitey guy, I'll be walking around him. I'll be like, all right, bitey, big nighty. So like, well, basically it's to keep the energy neutral, but also to help myself like stay not getting tense about it. So I think Laura like hit on that definitely as well. So cool. I think we covered that. I think that's a pretty good one.
Yeah. All right.
Hang in there, Casey. Don't let those crazy dogs get you down.
Question number 2. Yeah. So loud. Question number 2 comes from James. James says, I hope someone sees this post that might have an answer to my concern. Here it goes. With 2 kids, they're both foster failures. My male is 3 and very skittish and fearful. My female is 2 and is a normal tail-wagging dog. They're good dogs towards us, except when my wife fell. They started barking at her, acting like they want to attack her. I'm very concerned. What if a kid or someone falls? I don't think they'll actually attack, but it has me worried. It's like flipping a switch.
Yeah. Okay, it's James, right, Laura?
Yep.
Okay, so his wife fell and the dogs got kind of worried and freaked out about it,
Yeah.
right? So it's not unusual for dogs to get weird and freaked out if there's a, you know, if there's a big physical reaction from anybody. It's not that unusual for them to get unnerved. And sometimes, especially you talked about having a skittish dog, and a skittish dog can set off the other dog, barking and doing nervous behavior, reaction, stuff like that. That's what nervous dogs do when they're not certain about something, right? So like I've been working with the dog for the last week and a half named Miko, who's very uncertain around a lot of things and growls and barks at anything he's not sure about. And I saw that over and over and over again. Like no one had to fall. Someone could be sitting like a homeless person could be sitting on the sidewalk. And that looked unusual enough for Miko to be worried about. And then Miko would growl and, do all that stuff. So if you've got skittish dogs and then your wife falls and it's very dramatic, like physical kind of presentation, then it's not surprising that your dogs would get worried about it in their current state. So I'm going to adjust some of that, but right. So like Miko is the reason I use that example is because his typical response would be growl, lunge, snap, that kind of stuff. But because I trained him and I set firm boundaries and limitations about behavior and what's acceptable and what's not acceptable, and I created really clear pack structure that I was going to run everything, what he started to do is like, even when things made him uncomfortable, he started to defer to me and exist less in that nervous, skittish, anxious place. And I think that's really pertinent information for you and your dogs, because it sounds like there's some pack structure issues. It sounds like if I fell off a ladder, heaven forbid, if I fell off a ladder trying to like change a light bulb in here, my dogs would not bark, would not do anything weird, would not do, right? There'd be no reaction like that. And if Laura fell, I think the same thing would happen. Like Hercules might run away into the other bedroom or something like that. But they're not going to be nervous in a proactive, like, I'm not sure about you and I'm going to like kind of scope it out and assess or bark or be like closing in on the distance. That stuff comes from, to me, just a real honest answer, a lack of pack structure and a lack of clarity of leadership and a lack of the dogs understanding where they sit in that house and that they're even able to have a response like that, right? And that comes from years and years and years, or months and months, or weeks and weeks of teaching dogs that there's too much freedom, there's too much lax, there's too much latitude, and there's not enough strong enough structure for the dogs. And you may be doing some structure, and you may be doing some training, you may feel like I've got that covered, but from what your dog's reaction is, it shares that that's not being covered sufficiently for them. So to be honest, like, what you explain is like what we get in board and trained dogs all the time, and they always go home not doing that. And what do we do? How do we make that happen? How did I make it happen with Miko? It's just what I shared. It's just training. It's training and behavior modification. And that sounds complex and highfalutin, but it's really about like teaching the dog to defer to the training, getting the state of mind right, doing all that stuff. And you do it through simple stuff by getting your dog to like obey rules, respond to structure and share consequences and accountability for poor choices and things like that. And if you want to know what that looks like, go to the website, go to www.thegooddog.net. Click on our free videos. We've got a ton of them there. We've got a ton of like do-it-yourself ones. And then we've got 300 something videos of us just working with client dogs that show you what it all looks like. And if that's not enough, we've got a DVD you can purchase as well that like gives you step by step by step if you're really like motivated and want to go into it. But the long and short kind of answer is really, I think, that there's a lack of clarity in your home about pack structure with your dogs, which is causing them to be more nervous and creating the opportunity or the gap for this reaction to happen. Dogs should not be reacting like that to people in the house if they have enough stability coming from the owner. Now, that said, a really skittish, nervous dog, like there's all level and degrees of like, oh, this dog's slightly nervous. You could have a really, really, really skittish dog who might just bark and freak out, like if you like knock a chair over, right? So that doesn't mean the dog's necessarily dangerous or anything like that. It just means that freaked the dog out and the dog's nervous, and that's how the dog's expressing that nervousness. Now, if the dog is like proactive and going after somebody, it's a whole different story. But I would say, like, assume you don't have the worst case scenario dog and do all this training stuff if it matters to you. If you really want to get it straight and you want to create a lot of safety and you want your dogs to feel more comfortable, do some of that foundation work, which is really simple stuff like sit, down, place, heel, thresholds, crate. Do like 5, 6 exercises like that and watch your dogs be like totally different dogs. If you just taught your dogs place command with a prong collar, like you did nothing else, and I'm not saying to not do anything else, but if you only did that, you'd see massive changes in your dog's behavior. If you proof that behavior, don't just like set them on a mat and they're like, they know place. If you prove that behavior and teach them how to be really accountable for that, you'd see big changes in your dog. So that's my take on it. These are always hard to say without seeing the dog specifically, but we see enough nervous, anxious dogs with bad choices culminating from not enough structure, not enough pack leadership, and uncertainty and all that stuff. So,
yeah, it's an overall thing as opposed to just being like about one specific issue. It seems to be an overall, we always talk about just like foundation or just complete, like the dog at the core, as opposed to just
state of mind.
State of mind, as opposed to like why he did this specific thing.
Yeah. Awesome. I think we covered it. I think there's good enough info in there for James if he wants to like make some changes to go grab them.
Cool.
All right. Thanks, James.
Question number 3. This comes from Chaz. Chaz says, it's a long question. Chaz says, I have a strange pup, many firsts I've never seen before, or rather I have, but not in this combination. She's a mix, she's 23 pounds. So she's had some episodes that are rare where she'll be playing and suddenly snap at a pack mate. She doesn't growl, doesn't give a warning. She just has a split-second freeze and stare, and then she'll bite and draw blood. The other dog, bite and draw blood on the other dog, release and pee herself and run to her kennel. She does it so fast and so randomly that the other dog hasn't reacted other than to yelp. So not a fight situation yet. So usually it happens when there's a few dogs there. She plays and works a lot. She has a lot of play sessions per day with various dogs. It's a really long question, so I have to kind of power through.
Basically, they've got a dog that's a high drive dog that's getting into occasional squabbles with other dogs and actually drawing blood.
And then also she started on the e-collars at advanced level obedience and has multiple titles. So
right. So first off, the first thing that I hear is way too much like arousal, stimulation, excitement, and not nearly enough structure. Now, I could be totally off, and you could have a whole lot of that going on that I don't know about. I know that she's got titles and all that stuff, but I know plenty of dogs that are performance dogs that don't have their brains together, that do certain exercises or activities really well, but don't have their brains together. They don't know how to practice calm or impulse control at a really high level. So that's something to think about, just straight off the gate. Like, she's got plenty of play sessions all day. Like, that's not, if you teaching, it's such a hard one for people that are doing stuff. And I think there's another question coming down the line here about like performance dogs and things like that. Or no, maybe it's a question I answered earlier today on Facebook. But a lot of people feel like performance dogs, they have to just kind of like, they don't want to curb any of that enthusiasm. No show tie in there, but they don't want to curb the dog's enthusiasm, and so they allow a lot of just like high energy stuff to go on. They're afraid that if they teach the dog how to have an off switch and how to monitor and manage his energy, they'll lose some of that gumption and go and rocket fuel. And as somebody who had a dog who did fly ball and saw lots of other dogs that did that stuff, I know for one that both those worlds are possible. So you don't have to have just a drivey dog that doesn't know how to turn off. So I wrote up like some pretty like complete notes for Chaz because it's kind of an interesting question. So I'm gonna kind of dive into some of these. But one is that you got to like a little piece of dynamite, right? From what you explained with your dog, like you got this little dynamite, high energy, like tightly wound dog. And so with dynamite comes the possibility for explosions, right? So I think that's something you have to be conscious of, that it's not just an upside of her being able to do all of this fantastic stuff. She's also got like that same propensity creates the propensity for trouble. So you have to find out how to channel that and monitor it and balance it out and make sure she's got the other side of the coin, not just the crazy. So that goes back to like foundation work, right? That goes back to like, if this was my dog and I was going to be doing all of this stuff and going after titles and everything like that, I still want to live with this dog. I still have a pack that has to live with this dog, and this dog is doing dangerous behavior. I would train this dog how to do all sorts of calming exercises, way more than I'd be working like, I mean, you can always balance it out. You can do your excitement exercises or your obedience or whatever training stuff you're doing for kind of like more performance stuff, but I would be working my butt off on like sit down, place, recall, like not excitement recall, like get your butt over here, lay down, don't move, other dogs are playing over here, you stay right there, right? Like I would so like treat your dog like a board and trained dog. If your dog came to my house, I guarantee you your dog would stop doing that stuff, because I do a number of things, right? I wouldn't just focus on excitement. I would focus a ton on calming exercises, which are a lot of duration work in a down or in place. I'd make sure that that dog walks like an angel on leash everywhere, doesn't growl, bark, or do anything when on the walk, thresholds, all the usual foundational stuff. I'd be looking for like massive awesomeness and also massive knowing how to turn the brain off. Like that dog needs an off switch like nobody's business. And then pairing that off switch, like accountability, right? Whether it's e-collar enforced or pawn collar enforced, the dog's in place, dog doesn't move. Now I get my other dogs up, my other dogs play around, and we make all sorts of chaos and excitement and whatever. But this dog has to learn how to tolerate that high level of stuff without going like this. If you can kind of picture it that way, what I can see happening with your dog is that your dog gets into the situation and like two young boys wrestling, it goes from like a fun-filled like da-da-da to where somebody all of a sudden is like doing the headlock a little too tight, and then it turns into like an actual fight or something like that. And so I don't think your dog's learned how to manage itself well enough, and I don't think that's news to you. I think that's the main thrust of your question. But you can really cultivate that through foundation work, which seems so ridiculously simple compared to like probably the highfalutin stuff that you're doing, but that's the other side of the coin that your dog needs. Now, so I do all that foundation work, but then in conjunction with that, your dog's going to be e-collar trained. I would bust that dog's ass so badly for any kind of like whether I catch it in the like precipitating like glances, posturing, growling, escalation of one of the dogs, this dog would get nailed with the e-collar for that. Or if she actually uncorked and went after the dog, she would rue the day. Like there has to be a consequence for that, because she's just uncorking and she's not doing her best work to not uncork. I guarantee you your dog has the ability to manage and monitor herself better than she's doing currently. And the only way that that happens is by like foundational work, cultivate a good state of mind, and then accountability and consequences for really poor choices that cause a dog to go, as much as I'd like to just uncork, as much as I'd like to just drive 150 miles an hour down the freeway because it's fun, I don't do it because there's consequences behind it. So even though something feels natural and it's just her drive or whatever, I guarantee you there's the absolute ability of your dog to do a better job of monitoring and managing herself around the other dogs. And you may correct her with the e-collar and she may be like, oh, I don't want to play anymore. Well, I guarantee you she'll play down the line, but she may not want to play for a few days or a week or two. I wouldn't care. I'm just so much more interested in the dog that I live with being a healthy, balanced dog, that I know everything else will work itself out, right? If I set those rules and the state of mind's right and the consequences for poor choices, I know that the play eventually will work itself out and it will come back. I know that it's not going to affect any of the performance stuff or anything like that.
Right.
So, and to be perfectly frank, like if you're talking about like having to maybe rehome her or something like that, the performance stuff wouldn't even matter to me. Like if I care about having this dog in my home, like if she's just a performance dog that you don't like, you're not really connected to, and she's just a dog you do stuff with, that's a different story. But if you want to live with her and she matters to you on a higher level like that, then like performance is secondary. Balance, state of mind, being able to coexist with your pack is the primary goal. And so like that's what I'd be focused on. It sounds like there's too much. I could be jumping to conclusions, but it sounds like there's too much play, too much excitement, too much freedom, too much looseness, and not nearly enough structure, state of mind work, and accountability for really crappy choices.
Ooh, that's a nice little send off there.
What do you think about that? That's not an indictment, Chas, but it's just like that. Those are the things that from what you share, that's what I see. That's what I would connect with, and we see those dogs pretty much all the time. So hope that helps.
Question number 4.
The real question of number 4 is, am I going to pee my pants before this episode is over? I gotta
go pee if you want.
You read this question long?
Yes.
Okay. Entertain the truth.
Question number 4 is from Steph DiBianco. Steph says, hey guys, I'm an ABC grad and I recently found you, Blake, and Jeff here on YouTube. I love what you do and your work. I thankfully have added all your tools to my toolbox. It wasn't really a hard decision as once real life situations with clients' dogs presented themselves. Treats and easy walk harnesses just didn't cut it. I have a new female client with a 10-pound terrier Maltese. The dog is extremely fearful of people, especially men, and I know it starts with foundation work inside the house and then carries over to the outside issues, but I would love any advice you have for me outside the house when dog's fear is overwhelming to the point of fleeing. So the dog's like fleeing with the fear stuff instead of like just being proactive. I've recently moved back to LA and I'm not yet able to do a board and train. Thanks in advance. Planning on doing T3 in LA. Yay! Steph, that's great. That might be our last T3 in LA. We're kind of changing some things. So if you're in LA and you want to hit one, that's the one. And also it's going to be a smaller group. Just because it's like December and it's right around kind of holiday time, we just know we're going to have a smaller group. So if you're looking for a little bit more like of an intimate T3 experience, they all have their pros and cons. If you have more people at one, then it's fun because you get the more family vibe. But if you have less, you get more kind of one-on-one time. So, all right, Steph. So Sean's back. Hey, look at that.
Hey. Good timing. So in case anybody wonders, like everybody thinks that I just live on Pop-Tarts, right? See this ugly green glass full of stuff?
Yeah.
Smoothie, fresh fruit, fresh vegetables every morning.
Yep.
All I'm saying. And it might make you want to pee in the middle of an episode too. Okay, so we jumping in with we were at with
the Maltese. The client, the Maltese that flees.
Fearful of men?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Could you give me just a brief little?
So the Maltese, like outside, at the point it'll get so scared, it will flee, and it's scared of men and stuff. She's like, how do we work through? I know it's work and all that stuff, but
and Steph, was Steph the ABC graduate?
Yeah, she is.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. So Steph, welcome to Balance Training. Awesome to have you. Sounds like, I don't know if Laura's already talked to you at all or not, but that's really cool. You know, ABC offers a lot of book information, a lot of academia, a lot of stuff like that. But I'm so glad that you found some approaches and tools that are helping you to better serve the dogs you're working with. So that's super awesome. Really glad you found that stuff. That's really great. So, okay, as far as the Maltese being fearful of men, Laura, was it on the walks primarily?
No, well, I think on the walks is what she's talking about, like mainly is the fleeing. And
like trying to avoid and stuff like that. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, that's the same thing that I just dealt with this dog that just went home yesterday with Miko. So Miko would they're not the same dogs, obviously, but Miko would growl, bark, try and like move away from you, try and move away from whatever the trigger was, all that stuff. And it goes back to that same concept I think I shared a couple questions ago, and something you probably have heard me say if you watch this show, you know, more than once, is that we use the training to override that impulse, that desire, that emotional knee-jerk response to flee, right? So if you can think about it really simply, if you train a really, really, really rock solid heel, right? And of course more than that, but train a really rock solid heel, like what I did with Miko, because Miko was such a wreck on the walk, was like I do with all the dogs, we do e-collar heel, right? So he's got a prong collar on, so I can teach him pressure. He's got the e-collar, so I can teach him directionality. He's got the e-collar on, so I can teach him the pressure of the e-collar, train him with that. And then I don't go around anything that triggers Miko. All I do is train him how I spend the first couple of sessions getting Miko to learn how to walk right next to me, and that here's the rules, and that you're not to deviate from these rules, right? So that's like what we start to do, is set like new priorities for the mind, and the mind's like, this is what I must do. I must walk next to this person. And then as that patterning gets stronger, when Miko starts to see something that Miko's not comfortable with, instead of reverting back to the old habit, the easy habit, the most familiar habit of like growl, bark, move away, avoid, flee, he goes, crap, I'm supposed to stay in heel. This is really hard. Okay, but I'll do my very best. And if it gets to be too much, he gets corrected and he goes back into heel, right? If he has a moment where he's like, I can't take it, correction, boom, he comes back. The training overrides that emotional impulse, overrides. And if you override it enough, what ends up happening is, doesn't mean you'll change that dog into being like Miko's owner. No, new Miko wouldn't be a different dog. New Miko wouldn't be like, I love everybody. But she knew that through the training, we could make Miko 1,000% better, his best version of himself, which is, yes, he's still a little bit nervous, but instead of reacting, fleeing, growling, barking, he's just walking. He's just walking. And he might have a nervous look. He might have a nervous glance occasionally, but instead of taking that to the next furthest step, to its furthest step of reactivity or fleeing or whatever, instead he has a moment, and then the training takes him back. I really love you to see it like that. Like, it's almost like the fear is a moment of like, I get distracted by the fear and the training brings me back. I get distracted by the fear and the training brings me back. And if you use the right tools and the right approach, you can really start to repattern that stuff. And then of course, the ceiling is determined by who that dog is genetically, fundamentally, experientially, what they're really truly capable of. But like, I've never seen a dog that can't improve tremendously with that stuff. And Miko went from a dog that was like literally every person he saw or dog was going to be an explosion, to I could walk him here in the French Quarter around people and dogs and stuff, and there's no reactions. And so I'm such a big fan of that concept of using the training to override the emotional response, that I just want to shout it from the rooftops, and I want everybody to understand it so they can use it strategically. And if they get it up here, then they can really use it strategically to make the dogs succeed. But that goes along with, you got to have the right tools. If I took Miko out on a martingale or something like that, or maybe even on a prong collar because he was really intense, I may not have been able to achieve the same results. Probably wouldn't. Well, with the martingale, definitely not. With the prong collar, probably would have gotten about 60%. But with the e-collar, because the way it shares pressure and the way it affects dogs in a different fashion, we got him about like 85% better. You know, maybe 90. It's pretty substantial. So I'd love for you to start thinking about things like that in the training. Like, how do you get this Maltese to not flee? You don't worry about like getting it around people and getting it to not flee. You get it to learn how to walk really nicely next to you, and then you start creating accountability for deviating from that, and you slowly add challenge upon challenge upon challenge. Yeah. And I think that yeah, I think I covered everything that I wanted to. Laura's falling asleep on me, but I think I covered everything that that I wanted to get in that. Laura, anything you want to add to that little nugget?
No.
No, you're gonna take the quiet one on this one.
You covered it. You always do.
All right, thank you, lady.
Question number 5.
Number 5.
This comes from Laura Sconiers. Laura says, "Hi, Sean and Laura. I'm about to start my 10-month-old puppy on e-collar. He's reactive to other dogs when on the structured walk, and the prong collar doesn't have much effect on him when dogs are coming near or behind him. My concern is if he's looking at the other dog and I make an e-collar correction, that he'll associate the correction with the other dog and be more afraid of dogs. How do I teach him that I don't want him to pay attention to the other dogs, but pay attention to me instead? I'm still working on all the foundation exercises you recommend with prong collar work. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedules to help dog owners."
You got it. I was gonna say you got it, Laura, but like it is Laura, right?
Yeah.
Laura too. Okay, so it's a great question, Laura, and it's funny because I just wrote about it, like literally probably within the last week. So what I'd love for you to do to get a really detailed explanation is hopefully you must be a Facebook fan because you posted this on the Good Dog page, I'm pretty sure, so you're already there. So it's within a week to like a week and a half, somewhere within there. I have Good Dog tips that I do, you know, like 3, 4, 5 a week, and they have a little black card that says Good Dog tip. And the one you're wanting to look at says don't look, right? Good Dog tip, don't look. And it's talking all about this concept, because this concept about correcting dogs for looking at other dogs or being around other dogs and having negative reactions and being worried that it's going to cause, being worried that it's going to cause a negative association or fallout, or your dog to become aggressive or worse with the other dogs, I'm going to use the word, Laura, is absolute poppycock. Sorry, I really can refrain from that, but so I go into great detail in that little article right there. And like I said, it's not far. You should be able to scroll down and find it pretty easy. But I go into great detail about the ins and outs of that, how that works. And like, I'll give you like a quick upshot. And that's basically like when your dog is seeing another dog, the negative emotional response is already there. Right? So like, let's get that on the table. Your dog, if your dog is dog reactive, the negative response is already there. Either your dog is excited about the dog and is annoyed that he has to listen to you and is being a brat, or is nervous about the other dog and, you know, is having a reaction coming from that place, right? So he's worried, he's freaked out, he's scared, and doesn't know what to do with it. So the emotional reaction is already transpiring. Now, what we're able to do by correcting is block what loads that emotional reaction, right? Think about it like just like scientifically or like less scientifically and more like linearly or just kind of like step by step, right? So for your dog to get that emotional reaction to create reactivity, first it has to load. It has to load that information up. How do they load it up? Typically they load it up through eyesight, right? Ears as well, but most of it, and scent as well, right? Of course, but eyesight tends to be the biggest trigger for that. If a dog can look at something that it doesn't like, it's gonna load. And so if we block the visual of loading, then we start to block that emotional habit pattern of like, I look, I see, I feel, I react. But instead, I look, I get corrected, the sequence blocks, right? Can you see that? The sequence gets blocked and disintegrated, and you can't get to the end result, which is reactivity. And if you can't get to reactivity long enough, you break the habit, you break the pattern. And what happens is the only dog that can start to feel different about another dog is a dog that first experiences a calm state of mind. You cannot take a freaked out, nervous, worried, whatever dog and like, let's socialize him. He's going to feel better about this dog. It'll never happen. What you can do is correct, teach your dog how to be relaxed and in a good state of mind around other dogs, and do that pattern long enough and block the reactivity long enough to where your dog can finally see another dog and glance. And we see it all the time. Like Miko was a great example. Miko went from like being this every time to like, now he was like, huh, dog. Right? We blocked that end result. So he stopped getting that feeling. And so dogs stopped representing the same thing that they used to represent. And I think this is one of the biggest sticking points in dog training right now. Anybody in the pure positive world, which means like reward only, people who don't use corrections and only use food to train dogs, are going to absolutely be opposed, and they're going to trot out a bunch of science and documents and things like that to try and support that and say that this is how you're going to create a negative association in dog aggression. But how many dogs have we trained, Laura? How many, like thousands of dogs have we trained that have had this issue, and we have not seen any of them become more dog aggressive or problematic because of the issue? Like, they all go home. If they were able to have like dog friends, they still have their dog friends. They're still their dog friends, and most of them are able to actually create being able to have dog friends because it's the first time they've been calm enough to actually process dog interactions in a different way. So I'd say that the biggest part of this is understanding that first you have to block the sequence, and that only a calm dog has an opportunity to develop a different feeling about, or whether it's a dog or a human or a cat or a car or a bicycle, whatever it is that freaks them out or makes them uncomfortable. The only way you can get to a place to start to create a new feeling is they have to be in a calm space, mindset wise, to be able to go, oh, that's not such a big deal. But if you're worked up, it's absolutely a big deal. So hopefully that covers, take a look at that post, and it probably will do a better job than I did just now, giving you the explanations and the ins and outs about how all that stuff works. And just, you can just take it from us as folks that do this work all the time, that all we do is see it make progress and positive help for dogs. And there's no negative. We would be out of business. Like, every dog Sean's trained is turned into a monster. Like, you know, after they did the e-collar training, he killed 10 dogs. So that'd be bad business, and that hasn't happened lately. So, anyways, that's anything you want to add, Laura Morgan?
No, I mean, I think it's just I think from a perspective of another type of training that kind of can start talking about those types of rumors or whatever, just there's an easy way to, like, oh yeah, doesn't that make sense? Like, just like we give them treats to give positive association, like you're giving them this negative thing, it's going to create a negative association. It's like, it makes sense, but guess what? The treats thing doesn't really work. So the opposite is going to be true too. Like, you know, giving treats when a dog wants to destroy another dog's world, giving them treats when they're around that dog just makes them a sated dog that wants to kill another dog. And
that doesn't
not the food work isn't great with some stuff,
and it doesn't say you couldn't use food if you wanted to. Like, we don't use a ton of it for dog stuff, but if you wanted to, once you got your dog into a calm space, you could use food to try and reinforce and make the dog have a better association. But as counterintuitive as this is, like, people are just trying to draw direct correlations of, like, see dog, feel discomfort, dog bad. That's what they're trying to say. But what they don't get is it's not that. It's see dog, feel bad, reactivity. Or if we do it, it's see dog, block reactivity, correction, feel different.
Yeah.
So hopefully that clarifies.
Cool. Okay.
Awesome. I love that question. It's a good one.
Question number 6.
Yes.
This question comes from Jody. Jody Ann. Oh. Jody says, "Hey, Sean and Laura, this is Jody Ann from Pennsylvania." Right? Pennsylvania?
Hey. Yep. Yep.
I saw that in a previous video you used a prong and dominant dog collar. I was wondering how to properly use the dominant dog collar and when you need to add it with the prong. I use the prong now. My one dog likes to start fighting with my other dog on a walk. Thanks, and I really enjoy you guys.
Thanks, Jody. Jody's like MVP of like comments.
She's awesome. She's like, she's VIP.
Yeah, it's super VIP, good dog VIP style. Okay, so Jody, so quick answer to this. So the dominant dog collar is a good, it's a fitted slip collar that stays up high on the dog's neck. You have to order them and get the right size so it fits your dog's neck, where whereas a lot of slips go over the dog's head, and even like English slip leads, which you can put over their head and then like kind of like slide the leather thing down, doesn't have the same effect because those tend to be the diameters wider, and the dominant dog collar is much thinner, so it's much more effective at taking drive out of dogs. And ultimately, if you take it to the furthest thing, it takes air out of the dog, and so they can't breathe, and so they can't escalate. But what we use them more for is less about like, we're not trying to make dogs unconscious or anything like that. We use them primarily as a drive reducer, right? So drive, like, and when I say drive, I mean like dogs being reactive towards other dogs. So the two primary uses that we have for them are for handler aggressive dogs, dogs that might come up the leash and want to hurt me. That's the best tool I have to be able to keep myself safe, remove the drive from the dog, share a consequence and correction at the same time, but primarily not cause him to lift off and escalate, but really bring him down. So primary uses for handler aggressive dogs, for safety stuff like that. And then two is for backup for really dog reactive dogs, or reactive in any way, shape, or form on walks. And you've probably seen me in videos where I'll use like e-collar, prong, it looks like a ton of stuff, e-collar, prong collar, and sometimes I'll lose the prong collar and just use dominant dog, but usually I use prong collar, e-collar. What are you doing over there? What are you up to?
I'm just
opening. You open up like a 6-pack of beer, like all 6 of them, and getting ready to.
I'm opening something. Keep going. No worries.
All right. So what I'll do, share with us whatever you're having. We're all very curious. So then for the reactivity stuff that you've seen me use, where I use multiple leashes, I've got nom 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 nom. Is that what is that? Crack? What's that bread called?
Cracker bread, yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Mm.
Is it Swedish? I mean Norwegian?
It's I think this is German, but
oh, is it?
It's what we eat out there, and just
okay. I thought it was Norwegian. I thought it was Scandi. Anyways, okay. So what I'll do is like I'll keep the dominant dog collar. I'll use primarily the e-collar. Prong collar's on there for like backup safety to where the dog can't like pull or do anything really insane. And then the dominant dog collar is on there in case like the dog sees another dog and I go to correct, and I'll use the e-collar and the correction doesn't bring the dog down, it takes the dog up. And even if I'm using enough space, we're still struggling, we're still having problems, the dog's still lifting up. Like Tara Isaacson, who's got the dog Scout, and who commented on our last show, was struggling. She was doing all the best work. She was using prong and e-collar, and she was still struggling with Scout being aroused. She put a dominant dog collar on him, and now when that stuff goes down, she just very calmly just takes the leash with the dominant dog collar and pulls up and uses enough pressure to take the drive out. So it removes drive, but it's also a consequence, right? Like the dog goes, whoa, like, you know, I can't breathe as well. This is uncomfortable. It changes a lot of stuff. So it's really valuable for those dogs that tend to amp up from the other tools that tend to work really well, but they're not. Then the dominant dog collar is how we keep ourselves safe for handler aggressive dogs, but also like how we de-escalate reactivity dogs. Laura used to use dominant dog collar with polar bear on her walks with e-collar, and it's just a great tool for that. Like I said, think about it mostly as being a tool for taking drive out of dogs that get crazed and freaked out. Now, as for your dogs fighting, that's a whole different story. And the dominant dog collar is really not, I don't think, your solution. I don't think that's the answer. I think you've got bigger fish to fry there. I think you've got to really like overhaul your pack structure. Like you've got to really lay down the law. You've got to become boss man in that joint. You've got to like, you know, I would like be very, very, very conscious of like affection, freedom, access to your space, how much structure, how much duration work, consequences for breaking, all that stuff. Like if that stuff's not going down, no wonder that's most likely why you're having, you know, fights on the walks. That's all like dogs making bad choices because they're too aroused, because they're either allowed to or they haven't been taught something differently. You know, they haven't been conditioned to be in a different space. So that's a bigger one. Dominant dog collar is not going to be your answer solely. It might be something that helps you for walks if you've got, like, if you have one of those weird dogs that gets amped up from prong and e-collar, then that could be helpful. But as far as, like, I think you've mentioned in other comments as well that you've got a bit more chaos going on. So that's stuff you're going to have to tackle in a more comprehensive macro fashion. Cool. Thanks for the question.
Thanks, Jody.
Appreciate it. You inspired Laura's appetite.
I fell asleep so early last night. I'm so hungry. Okay. Question number 7.
Number 7.
This comes from Arya K. Arya says, Sean, I have one for this week. Thank you so much. Okay, keeping this short. Bear with me. Bruce, which I guess is a dog they've rescued, will not stop barking, yelping, screaming, and howling when he goes in the crate. This is normal for most dogs I foster in the beginning, but I will usually use an e-collar and resolve the issue with 6 to 8 corrections, usually on low levels. I train him physically. I run him. I do structured training, walks, socialization, but he gets tired but still acts out at home when the anxiety kicks in. He's always panting, so I feel the energy is artificial. I've tried correcting him at low and high levels. I've tried correcting him with and without a vocal correction. I've tried rubbing Adaptil on his collar. If he lives with me, he needs to get crate trained for certain times of the day. Is there anything I'm overlooking? Any tips on using minimal force to get him in the crate? She's already using a prong. Sometimes I'll get some quiet time, but then it starts up. I've also tried putting another dog close to him, put music on, but he still stays up and howls and barks repeatedly. Any other tips and ideas would be appreciated. Thanks for all you do. I'm still planning on taking your T3. Yeah.
I'm being sarcastic, but yeah, about like howling and barking like randomly is like the worst thing in the world. So for one, we'd love to see a T3. Hopefully we'll see a T3 somewhere down the line. That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
What Laura said. Yeah. So I've got some notes for you, and I'm going to read through the notes because they're a little bit more involved than just me kind of riffing. So one thing, and I kind of mentioned this in the last, to me it sounds like I can picture the dog that you've got because I've had him so many times come through. And so I just, when I hear about dogs like this, to me, I feel like you've got a bad case of like really strong-minded, strong-willed dog. Like anxiety might be in the mix, but I feel like there's a lot more attitude, strong-minded, strong-willed dog, and not being met with enough firmness in an overall comprehensive sense from you that's allowing this to continue. And it's crazy because if just e-collars alone and doing corrections in the crate for that behavior, if everything else isn't firm enough to create like, I really need to mind my P's and Q's, then it's really hard to leverage that one moment, even with a great tool. It's a wild thing, but it's just the way dogs work. So Manny, stop it. So here's a couple things I'm going to run down for you. So I'd seriously look at less affection, less fun, less light energy from you, more serious energy, more no freaking messing around energy, more I'm going to kick ass in this house energy. That would be something I'd be really focused on. Just far more, like I wrote, far more firm ass kicking and no nonsense stuff. So that's really like when I picture this dog, that Manny, hang on a second, Manny, stop. He's like rumbling the floor with his scratching. No. So when I picture this dog, I picture an imbalance between strength of dog and not enough strength. Not that you're not strong enough, but in what you're sharing, I don't think there's a strong enough conversation going on to create buy-in with this dog. I could be totally wrong, but boy, I've seen this dog a million times, and we've seen them. What you're telling us is what clients sit on our couch and say, like, we can't get him to stop doing this in the crate, and then it's done. And how is it done? It's done through leveraging all these other moments, right? It's done through making sure that like a dog who behaves like that doesn't get any affection until he changes his ways. It gets done by a dog who behaves like that gets nothing but firm, strong, tough energy from me or anybody else until he changes his ways. It means that any infraction, any boundary pushing gets met with firm accountability, firm like consequences, maybe firmer than what you'd share with your other dogs, because this guy's telling you, I need more. I'm not respecting, I'm not responsive, I'm not listening. As for like caring about, like, is there a less forceful way to get him in the crate? Cram his rear end in that crate. I mean, it's going to sound like the worst dog training advice anywhere, but I'm just telling you, like, trying to like, is there a softer way to make this happen is not what that dog needs. And you may not, like, I know we've shot crate videos before and we've talked about this at length before, that, you know, like, I got dogs that fight the crate and all sorts of monkey business and this and that. But I'm a big fan of the belief of what can be resisted will be resisted. And the less amount of pressure, force, or intensity you use, you're typically going to get that equivalent of pushback from that dog. He's going to see what you're willing to give, and then he's going to push back against whatever gap or void is left in that you're not offering. So dogs like that, I'm like, prong collar on, and your ass is getting in this crate. And I don't care if I have to like take it and like toss you in there. And as soon as I toss you in there, I'm going to pull you right back out again. And then I'm going to do it again. And then I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it over and over and over again. I'm not going to just get you in that crate. I'm going to get, Manny, stop. I'm going to get you in and out. I'm going to get you in and out. I had to literally throw the book at him. I just tossed it in his general direction. But so yeah, like I'm not a big fan of this, like, let's take a bunch of time to try and make this a comfortable, positive association for your dog. Your dog's being a jackass, or this foster dog or whatever he is being a jackass and making choices, right? He's making choices. He's not like, oh, I've created a negative association. If that was the case, just like we were talking about negative associations in the past question, every dog that I've ever had to like forcibly get in the crate in an unpretty fashion would hate the crate. But within a day or two, the crate door opens and they run in. They come out of the backyard, I call them in, whoop, in they go. They don't go in and shake and go, I'm in my hellhole that I was like conditioned to like be terrified of. They're just like, I stopped fighting the thing because I'm not allowed to fight it anymore. And now it is just what it is. It's a crate and I just go into it. So, and I'm not trying to be overly hard with you. You might be doing an awesome job with that. I want to make sure this comes across the right way. What I want to make sure is, like, as I get kind of like worked up about this, because I can just picture the dog, I want to make sure that you're not adhering to too much soft stuff to try and make a firm dog buy in, because you'll never get there. And then he won't care about the tools. He won't care about the e-collar. He won't care because he's too aroused, right? Mm-hmm. Part of the way, like I just posted about leverage the other day, and like a big part of like how we create leverage is like, get your ass in the crate, right? Even if you don't want to get in the crate, I'm going to find a way to get you in that crate. And I'm going to do that exercise over and over and over again until you surrender. And what happens with surrendering is that arousal, intensity, brattiness, pushing against boundaries, it dissipates. And then the dog is easier in all these other contexts. He's easier on the walk. He's easier in the house. He's easier like with baying and howling and all that stuff. So that's my major thesis that I want to get across. That's the most important thing that I want to share with you is, like, sounds like a firm dog that needs a firm approach, like, comprehensively. And then I'm going to see if there's anything else. What's that, Laura?
He's just stuck.
Yeah, he's stuck. And explain what you mean by stuck for everybody.
He just can't, he's locked in this, oh, I get in the crate and I lose my mind, and then no one's been able to shut him off, and so he keeps doing it. He's not comfortable when he's doing it. It's like, I always think about, like, when I'm, like, in a relationship with, like, could be anything from your past, friend, romantic, you know, parent, brother, sibling, whatever it is, and they allow you to act a certain way that it's not your best, it doesn't feel good. But they continue to allow you, and so you continue to, like, push, but you, like, know it's not right, but you kind of have fallen into it, and, like, that's a really, like, I know that's far away from what we're talking about, just dogs.
It becomes a habit. It becomes a habit of doing less than the best.
And so he gets in the crate and he whines and he cries and he knows that he might get, 8 corrections low, or whatever it is. He'll get low corrections, or someone who, because it sounds
She's
like you've
talked
done
about doing
so
higher
much
correction
good
as
work.
well.
Yeah, but you've done so much good work and so tried so many things. I imagine you're probably pretty, like, what's the word? Deflated. Like, there's nothing else I can do. So
Right.
it's just about finding like your power again and saying, knock it off in a way that he really believes. And then you guys are both going to feel so much better,
Yeah. Yeah. No, those are some really, really awesome points as far as like from a practical standpoint. Kick his butt and I already touched on this earlier in the answer, but like, I don't think I can hammer this one home far enough. Kick his butt in all the small moments where you see anything pushy, bratty, not listening, pushing boundaries. Like that's where you create leverage, in those small moments where you create consequences that he goes, wow, boy, does mom need business. That he starts to think differently about life in general. So large consequences for small infractions is something I'm a big proponent of. Doesn't get talked about a lot. A lot of people feel uncomfortable with it, but I watch it work day in and day out and day in and day out. So take that information that we've gleaned from working with thousands of dogs, tough dogs successfully, and kick his ass in small moments so he really is able to absorb the full scope of what you intend for him and what role you're going to play in his life. And then the other part is that, like, from a real just like practical tool standpoint, one of the things that you can use if other tools aren't working is a dominant dog collar or a slip lead, right? And this gets down into like not pretty dog training. And this is like, if I've got a dog that other tools aren't working and I'm doing all this other stuff that I'm telling you, and the dog is still lighting up in the crate, which I won't allow. It's not okay. It's not good for him. It's not good for me. It's not good for the other dogs. I'll either use a slip lead or a dominant dog collar, and I will leave it on him, or if he's supervised, or I'll go and actually like noose him up with it, like take the slip lead or the dominant dog collar. Like if he's going crazy in the crate, I'll walk out, I'll gear him up with the dominant dog collar or the slip lead. I'll pull him like forcibly, like get your rear out forcibly, and then I'll pull up and I'll apply pressure. Right now, I'm not making the dog unconscious. I'm not making the dog like, poop himself or anything like that. But I'm going to make that dog that choice of howling, barking that I know you can do better of. I'm going to make it one of the most uncomfortable things that you can fathom. And that way, the next time you're sitting in the crate, you'll think about, what's the consequence tied to this behavior, and is it worth it for me? Because that's all that's transpiring. Right now, it's worth it for him. So if all these other things, right, like don't give you what you need, then slip lead or a dominant dog collar, pull the dog out, apply pressure, front paws should come slightly off the ground. The dog's probably going to panic, freak out. It's going to spin around. It's going to look terrible. The thing is, you're not going to hurt the dog. All you're doing is saying, here's the consequence for doing this stuff. And this consequence is one you can't fight against. That's the big difference. You can't fight against it. You can't bark through it. You can't do anything. Eventually the dog goes, wow, this is terrible. Okay. And they surrender and let it go. Like I said, it's not pretty dog training, but I mean, the whole goal of this program is to share real information with you guys about what works. We've never damaged a dog with it or anything like that, but it will take the drive. Like Gus was that big Tibetan Mastiff who would, every 45 minutes erupt in his crate, and I couldn't put an e-collar on him because he wasn't safe to handle at that point. And so he had a dominant dog collar on him, and I would get up all through the night every time he did it, and I'd pull him out of that crate, and I would boom, pressure, and I'd hold it until he became so uncomfortable, so worried, so concerned. And then I'd release the pressure and put him back in. And I'd say, now you make your next choice. And that happened for a day. And then it stopped. So, like I said, not pretty dog training, but honest dog training. If somebody's got a better way of doing it, awesome. Show it. Do your thing. This is just what we've found works for us and ensures that we're able to get dogs to, like Laura said, not just stop barking because it makes you crazy, but get out of the stuck place, because that's where your dog's at. That dog is stuck. So hopefully that helps. That's a really long answer. And you know, we're only doing like 8 questions. I think we'll stretch this baby all the way into like the regular time zone. So I'm ready for the next one.
All right. We've got question number 8.
Number 8.
This is the final question.
Okay.
Question number 8 comes from Brittany Van Harlow on Instagram.
Brittany Van Harlow.
Brittany Van Harlow says, "Hey, Sean and Laura, I'm a balance trainer in Ventura, California. There's only one other balance trainer up here, and she's retiring, so the area is overruled by a very outspoken, positive reinforcement trainer. I wanted to ask you, how do you handle people or even other trainers when they start trolling your social media pages saying that prong and e-collar work is proven to create aggression and is negative reinforcement? Any blogs, websites that you can recommend that will help enlighten these people? Thanks."
Good. I love this question. I think we both love this question. So Brittany Van Harlow. So you're in Ventura County, so you're not far from us.
Yeah.
I didn't know that Ventura was like kind of a big stronghold for positive only stuff. I wasn't aware of that. But here, let me just read down how we handle this, right? So like me and Jeff Gelman both kind of started out by putting out a lot of information and sharing a lot of stuff that was like maybe controversial, a lot of e-collar, prong collar, showing work, showing corrections, things like that, which made us obvious targets. Jeff has a radio show, which makes him an even bigger target. And where Jeff was at on the East Coast, he was really, really ensconced in a fully like positive only like place. And so both of us have learned how to navigate this by way of not doing it right. So hopefully I can help impart some information to help you do it better than we did it, so the way we do it now, right? And the way we used to do it was by what you're saying. How do we find, like, spending hours online trying to explain what are like obvious, like, of course this makes sense. If I just find the right wording, this person will completely understand and turn around, or I can defend my position, or blah, blah. It's all a waste of time. It's all an incredible waste of time, and even worse, it's a waste of good energy. It puts you in a negative space. Those people have no intent of having a conversation with you. They have no intent of caring about you, of caring about your business. They have no intent for anything positive except to continuously push propaganda or an ideology or a message or something that they believe in. And they're more than entitled to have that and to do that, but they're not entitled to do it on my Facebook page. And they're not entitled to do it on my Instagram page. And they're not entitled to do it on Jeff's or our YouTube or anything like that. So the reality is, like Jeff says, it's a dictatorship. My Facebook page is a dictatorship. There's no room for anybody that isn't interested in having a polite conversation. I want it to be a safe place. My Facebook page and all my other social media platforms are designed to be safe places for other human beings to go to get information that helps them do better with their dogs. And that does not include people being nasty, derogatory, crappy, judgmental, because all I need is like Sally, who's just learning about this stuff and starting to get like feeling good about the work she's doing with the prong collar on her dog, to have like 5 posts come up where somebody's like, you know, or all gang of people, they've all ganged up and they're all being crappy about it, to make Sally be like, oh man, like maybe I'm like, you know, not doing the right thing for my dog. Or I mean, that pressure, because they come on so strong, is so powerful. And so like, I for one, like, of course Sally can make her own decisions, but I for one, I don't want it in my space. It drips of negativity, it drips of toxicity. I don't want anything to do with it. So nor does Jeff, nor does Laura. And surprisingly, we get like this much of that stuff. For people that do like a TV show or a video show like this, have do-it-yourself videos, have 350 or whatever it is videos of training dogs with prong collars, e-collars, showing corrections, doing all that stuff. We get so little pushback, feedback, negative stuff. And the reason is because we don't allow any of it. Right? We don't engage, we don't talk. We have an accepted rule between all of us. It's the ban and delete rule. If you show up on any of my pages with any intent other than to be kind, helpful, ask even an honest question. You could ask a question like, I'm not sure about e-collars, or I'm worried about e-collars. I'll talk to you all day long. But if you show up with any intent or agenda to undermine, do harm, or be toxic or nasty or push your agenda, you're toast, you're gone. I don't want anything to do with you. So ban and delete happens so quick, and then they can't find you. You're gone. You disappear off the face of the earth. And what really ultimately happens is that after you do that long enough, you're no fun, and they stop showing up. You do that long enough, what's the point in like sending, like composing your master like thesis of like, you guys are terrible prong collar users, and I'm gonna, you know, like putting in this data and this information and these. Lord, did you just fall asleep on me?
No.
and all of these different like documents to try and like support your concepts, and then and support their concepts, and then you just delete them. Like it becomes a fruitless endeavor. They're like, well, why bother doing that? And the flip side of that is you spending time to do all of your stuff of like, well, let me gather a bunch of reports that support why this is actually valuable and why prong collars don't hurt, and they don't care. They're not listening. All they're gonna do is totally ignore what you just wrote. They're gonna read it, and then they've got already a fully prepared response to it. It's not a conversation. It's this over and over again. There's no conversation. There's no help. There's no progress. There's no positive transaction or interaction happening. So I know I'm kind of like ranting on this, but my big suggestion to you would be to do exactly what we did and do it quicker than we did, which is go straight to ban and delete when anyone shows up without a positive, kind, inquisitive attitude. If they show up with agenda or anything else, they're gone, they're toast. Don't talk to them, do not engage with them, and quickly they'll find that you're no fun to play with, and they'll do their own thing. And then ultimately, you have to let your good work define you and create the word of mouth and do the, what's the word, Lord? Do the advocating for you, right? You have to like let the videos you show of happy dogs being trained well, or before and after dogs that were doing terrible that are now doing really well, and clients that are really excited and have had great results and success with you, let them tell the story. Don't you try and tell the story. You're the one person that they're not going to listen to. Let everybody else tell the story for you, and let that be your story. Let the results be the story. Don't engage in the stuff, because you'll make your hair fall out. It'll turn gray, and trust me, I've spent so many like nights where I wish I could get back where I spent up on the internet, like, and if I just word it just right, they'll really get it.
Yeah.
Get it. So
They really don't. I mean,
yeah.
There's people looking for a conversation, there's people not. And you just have to weed out the ones that aren't and just get them out of your life. Life's too short, you know?
Yeah. And it's just not productive. Life's too short, and it's just not productive to what you're trying to do. Like I said, create a safe place for people to go learn about information and find out about you. Don't make it a place for volatility and people to sling mud. I don't want to go to a Facebook page like that. If I want to learn, I want to learn. If I want to learn about positive only methods, I'll go to their places where I can learn about that. If I want to learn about prong collars or bounce training, I'll go to a place where I can learn about that. So let it be a safe place for people and a safe place for you, and just don't engage. So that's man, I got ranty on that one.
Yeah, you so did.
Positivity.
Ranty McRanterstein.
Yeah. So that's it. I think we're toast. I think we're done. I think.
Yeah, I'm breaking out here.
Oh, is that
when
a
I
special,
saw that,
special Norway people?
I saw that this morning, and I was like, it's okay, because
you're going to apply some kind of inane Google Hangout. Right? How bad can it be if you can just easily put on a goatee like that? Right?
I was like, I should just, the whole Q&A Saturday, just so no one can see, just wear a beard.
Oh, don't be too fast.
I think this one is a little bit tough, but that goatee was great. Yeah.
I think that goatee works for you. And it goes nice. It goes nice with your black sweater, because it makes you look like a Parisian artist. You kind of have like a cool thing going. Get your little beret and a little cigarette, you know. I think you'd be rocking. And of course, the monocle. Monocle goes without saying. So.
I did the halo.
So, anyways, what's that? That's it.
So I graduated.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Graduated from. I was going to say from pimpledom. but Temple University.
Nope, I
But
didn't.
you're close to graduating. You're an undergrad.
Uh-huh.
Anyways, so guys, it's been so nice. Cool thing is that next week?
Yeah.
In a handful of days, we'll be doing our thing together, and you'll be actually able to see us. Maybe we'll even drag Jeff Gelman into the fray and make him answer some questions with us, so we can have a little fun with that.
That would be awesome.
And yeah, so we got good stuff. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. I know this format's a little different. Hopefully you guys find it fun, because I know it's a little quirky and a little bit different than our other one, but hopefully the information is still valuable, and we'll get back to our like ultra high quality audio and ultra high quality video and all that good stuff coming down the pike. But thanks for hanging with us, sticking through thick and thin. We love you guys. We so appreciate the support, and I think we're out of here.
Yeah, let me turn on some music.
Okay, we got some fade out music going on.
Fantastic music. Yay!
All right, guys.
Bye.